time to take a stand and stop the sexualization of our children. Action for Canada has created a notice of liability to assist you. The title of this NOL is Facilitating an Exposure of Minors to Sexually Explicit Educational Resources, Activities, and/or Events. The United Nations has mandated that all member nations implement the Comprehensive Sexuality Education Resource. CSE is a learning platform that was developed within the context of a program developed by UNESCO. This so-called resource sexualizes children at the earliest ages possible, and it's no surprise that it's causing great harm to our children, as well as attacking the traditional family unit. According to Section 163.1 and Section 152 of the Criminal Code, as well as the Canadian Centre for Child Protection, it's a criminal offence to sexualize and exploit children. Here at Action for Canada, we've been working to expose this evil agenda and to empower parents, grandparents, and concerned citizens to take a courageous stand. In an effort to assist you, we've created a page on our website where you will find an incredible assortment of information on this issue, including the various programs that have been introduced into our schools. Beyond the Basics is the resource used in Nova Scotia, WIN Sex Ed is used in Ontario, CSE is used in Manitoba, and SOGI 123 is used by the rest of the provinces. By introducing these programs into our educational system, our children and youth are being exposed to sexually explicit pornographic materials in the form of books, magazines, and comic strips. Our kids are also encouraged to become members of organizations that promote sexually deviant behavior and the exploitation of minors. Be sure to take advantage of this notice of liability, which will advise teachers, librarians, trustees, ministers, etc., that they will be held personally liable for exposing minors to any form of pornography or sexually explicit material, as well as any activities or organizations promoting sexual deviancy and the exploitation of minors. By using this valuable NOL, you have the ability to demand that the CSE learning resources be immediately and completely removed from libraries and the education system. That all of the books listed, including titles by the same authors, be immediately removed, and that all educational facilities, including libraries, cease and desist promotion of any and all activities, including performers and clubs that exploit our innocent, impressionable, and vulnerable children and youth. Knowing is not enough. You must take action. Here are some powerful actions you can take to protect our youth, no matter your age or station in life. Pull your children out of public schools and universities. Run, facilitate, join, or help with a homeschool group. Get involved in writing letters and serving notices of liability. Run for office as a school board trustee, mayor, or city councillor. Connect with an Action for Canada chapter near you. We cannot ignore this message. Our children and youth are being subjected to twisted ideologies using social justice as a means to indoctrinate and groom them, and we must protect them. Thank you for taking a stand to protect kids. If you like what we're doing at Action for Canada, please consider making a donation to support our ongoing work. And be sure to join a chapter near you. God bless you, and God bless Canada.
Action for Canada, we unite. 'Cause joining hands, we're for the fight. Action for the Canada, we stand tall. We're love and faith, we can win it all. We are up high, we lift it high, and we've got authority to
Tonight is going to be a powerful night about truth and courage and taking action. And be sure to stick around at the end because we're going to do the draw for the free gift basket at the end. Action for Canada and One BC have come together and put together a little swag bag for all of you. But first, I've got a couple of t-shirts and hats here if there's anybody that might like to get a free hat or a t-shirt. Yeah, okay, let's go here. One over there. Back there. There we go. And if the t-shirts aren't the right size, you can change them at the front. Somebody will exchange them for you. So, all right. So, okay, remember that retreat I told you about a couple of weeks ago that I went to? At one point, we were led through an exercise where we were asked to reflect on the people that have spiritually influenced us. At first, I struggled to think of who had helped shape my faith journey, actually, because I didn't grow up with a very strong spiritual foundation. But as I sat there reflecting on who has modeled spiritual strength, conviction, and courage in my life, one name came immediately to mind: Tanya. Over the past 5.5 years of knowing her, I can say without hesitation that I have never met a harder working woman, and as my pen met paper, the words began to pour out. She keeps going, even through the hard seasons. Despite the overwhelming workload, despite standing firm when it would be easier to bend, she presses on. When her convictions are unpopular, she does not retreat. When there is resistance, criticism, or even hate for what she stands for, she does not waver. When she is misunderstood by those who have not taken the time to truly hear her heart, she remains steady. Through personal trials, public scrutiny, through exhaustion and opposition, she continues to choose what is right over what is easy, day in and day out. Tanya, you embody unwavering faith in action, courage rooted in conviction, strength anchored in truth, and a tireless commitment to protecting faith, family, and freedom. And for me, you have set the bar high in more ways than one. It is such a privilege to introduce a woman whose life and leadership have left an unmarkable, an undeniable mark on so many. Please help me to welcome Tanya Gaw to the stage.
Thank you. Well, I certainly didn't expect that tonight. Thank you, Kim. Thank you so much. Thank you for that. And I'm so excited to be here. And, you know, I've met several times with the RCMP this week, and Pastor Brent has. And the fact, again, I'm going to give a shout out to Pastor Brent for opening his church to us rebel rousers. It's just amazing, right? We say truth matters, and that has become so controversial, and that's the bottom of what's going on outside. And we just need to keep speaking the truth. My uncle would always say, and many of you may have heard this before, is that the lighthouse on shore is a beacon of hope to the sailors at sea. And we are that lighthouse on shore for these kids that are in a storm, in the deep, deep waters, and they need to know that they were born in the right body. God never makes mistakes, that they are loved and cherished. They also need to understand that life is hard. I've been through really hard times in my life, but you know what? I ended up turning everything over to God, and then He took what the enemy meant for harm and He used it for some real good. And He can do that in each and everyone's life. Now, when I start my events, I'm just going to sign on here. Those of you who know me, get ready, because it's coming. We might have to repeat it, but I'm going to do a land acknowledgement. Are you ready? I'm going to thank God and God alone for the ground that I'm standing on. Okay, now join me. I'm going to thank God and God alone for the ground that I'm standing on. Talk about reclaiming Canada. Come on. We're going to do this. So this is what Action for Canada looks like nationwide, and I want to start off, we have a table out there, and the night is about mobilizing Canadians and getting you actively involved in your communities, and Action for Canada makes that really easy. We have the resources, the effective resources and the strategies, and it is amazing what 2 or 3 people can do and overturn in a community. And you got to remember, it's the squeaky wheel. Good old Uncle Ed told me that one too. It's the squeaky wheel that gets the attention. And we've been far too quiet. And we got to get very, very squeaky because the other side has been in there lobbying government, making their unreasonable demands. They don't have a right to sexualize and indoctrinate and groom our children in the school system. They don't have a right to bring their false gods and raise them up in our nation. No way, Jose. It's time for enough. We have a right to our Christian nationalism. We have a right to be patriotic of our country. We need a love for Canada again. We've handed it over for far too long. And I know I got 30 minutes, but I'll always need 45, and it's an hour I need 2. It's just going to be an interesting night. So buckle up. I just want to get through a couple of the highlights of what Action for Canada is doing, and pray that God will give you a fire in your belly. Ask him, how can I be involved? It's absolutely been an amazing 10.5 journey that I've had. And it started one very shy girl that had no social media platform, 12 people on my email list, and no cell phone. And so, I was really praying about the direction when Justin Trudeau was lobbying everybody for government on anything and everything. And I was concerned. I saw the writing on the wall, so to speak. And so I started writing my first letter, sent it out to the 12 people, and it was about the legalization of marijuana, putting it in the hands of 12-year-olds, then about Bill C-16, and allowing biological men into women and children spaces, motion M103, the Islamophobia motion, to quell our criticism of one of the most dangerous ideologies right now in the world. And so I kept writing, and my list got to 500, and by 2019, we needed an organization. People were saying more people need to hear what you're doing, and to motivate people to write to their conservative members, because they were saying we don't hear from people. And I said, okay, let's fix that. Let's change it. And then God had called me way back about 9 years ago to proclaim Canada as a Christian nation. Some of you, forgive me if I've repeated this, you've heard me before, but there's those of you who don't know this part of the journey. And I said 2 of the most important words in my life, which were, yes, Lord. And so every time, thank you. So every time an opportunity came up, I would say, yes, Lord. It might have been an interview. I'm sweating bricks and I'm so nervous, and I'm thinking, oh, maybe you'll get a few minutes out of that. And it'd be, are you kidding? That was an hour. That was great. And so that just developed. I had to keep stepping out and past my fear so that the Lord could use me, as Danielle is saying. And each of you have that inside of you as well. And so then in 2019 in June, now it's like, okay, Tanya, you're going to be the head of this organization, because I'd asked 2 other people to do it. And I was literally on my belly on the floor in June of 2019 saying, God, I need to hear a word from you. And I need you to speak loud and clear. And I opened my Bible, and it was Jeremiah 1:17-19. I've got it underlined, date in there to this day. And it says, get up and prepare for action. Go out and tell them everything I tell you to say. Do not be afraid of them, or I will make you look foolish in front of them. For see, today I've made you strong, like a fortified city that cannot be captured. Like an iron pillar or a bronze wall, you will stand against the whole land. The kings, officials, priests, and people of Judah. They will fight you, but they will fail, for I am with you, and I will take care of you. I, the Lord, have spoken. Literally, that's what God told me. So people will say, well, aren't you worried about such and such? And, if you saw my action that went out last night, look in your inbox today. We're talking a little thing about Ramadan, and, that these are not values that are Canadian values, and this needs to be shut down. We need to stop, all of this. And accommodations are what's burying Canada. You don't have a right to have your accommodations when it means bringing in foreign systems of government that are in violation of and in dueling with Canadian law. And so we need government officials to stop being lobbied by these individuals. And that's where I'm going to, repeatedly look to Dallas and even to Maxime Bernier, who are people that you would refer to as the populist movement. And that's what's winning across the world. And I'll get into that a little bit, but at some point you got to take a leap of faith. How big is your God? And if you don't know God, you're living in a Christian nation, and I understand that, but that is the fact. They tried to tell you it's a secular nation, which is a lie from the pit of hell. They've tried to say we're a multicultural nation. No, we're not. First, it was European cultures were coming in, but they all integrated and assimilated. We're not having that same expectation on the new immigrants, and that must and has to change, because that's what I'm talking about, your patriotism. You may be an unbeliever, but you got to believe in something. Would you want to live in the 56 Islamic majority countries, North Korea, Pakistan, India? If the answer is no, you've got to understand that it is only Christian nations that actually have countries that thrive on democracy. And I've just listed all the nations as evidence and proof. When you have a different belief system, they have different government systems and they have different values. And that's very, very critical that we understand that tonight. We have to get a fire in our belly. What are we fighting for in this nation? And it truly is to uphold what our fathers of the Confederation gifted us with. We should not be wasting this gift. And then as well, I think it was Ronald Reagan, who was it, that said, that freedom isn't free, that you have to actively pass it on to the next generation. And that's what we're fighting for today, is the next generations. So I've created this resource. You can come to Action for Canada's page, but it literally provides you so much information, all of the evidence that you could possibly need, proving within our Constitution Act, the Bill of Rights, the Coronation Oath, the Lord's Day Act, Canadian Coat of Arms, everything that we can imagine as foundation of this country. And they'll tell you, well, that's how it used to be. That's not how it is today. You can't break these promises. Okay, these are active and alive today, but we haven't cared about the people in government to make sure that they're upholding it. Now I'm going to shift and I'm going to work very quickly here. Many of you that are following us know about the issues and the work that we're doing. We have an Empower Hour every Wednesday night, and I bring on a special guest or do the show myself. Next week is going to be very impactful. But this page is just filled with those resources and the information that you need to pass on to other citizens and to start educating and meeting with your local officials. Every thing that you could possibly need is on this page, as far as the standards for sexuality and education that's coming from the WHO, which says that at the ages, what is appropriate? Well, from here it's 1 to 4 to teach them about masturbation. If you do not agree with that, then, and that's where our country is headed, you have not been voting for the right people. We don't want to hear lip service. We want to see what are they doing between elections to make sure that this is not what's going on in Canada. The War on Children, Comprehensive Sexuality Education is the SOGI 123, and it is meant to sexualize children at the earliest age possible. We have resources, we have information. I highly recommend this first video, because in British Columbia, they have the SOGI 123 Toolkit for Teachers, and it is from K to 12, and you can see how they are indoctrinating children and putting these ideas in the mind, and these are the people that are standing outside. These are the ones that are being fast-tracked on puberty blockers and led down this, there's no such thing as a trans child. No child is born in the wrong body, and I rebuke that to the very core of my being. So if you know a parent that's 12 or 14-year-old is coming home, send them this video. And then there's a video that come down below, and Sarah here is a detransitioner. She contacted me the other day. She's just an amazing, beautiful girl, and she is like the gal in the States who just won a $2 million lawsuit against her surgeon and the psychologist for mutilating her body. And that's what happened to Sarah. What is going to be the justice when they cut her breasts off at 16 years old, put her on puberty blockers, and all of this is coming out now. It can't be denied. I'm just a few headlines. Ultimate deception, gender-affirming care. This was a show and a page. We really work on educating Canadians, and so those Canadians are in communities who are then going and challenging their elected officials. Do you really know what you're signing up for? Do you understand that this is mutilation and what you're doing, like a conveyor belt to our children? The Zem, look at these kids. There's so many kids. We have the highest population of kids on antidepressants. Something is wrong, and it started in the classroom. And Maxime Bernier, give credit to the PPC. We all know about the tragedy in Tumbler Ridge, and a shame on the commissioner of the RCMP, Commissioner McDonald. I've met with him personally on times, and I'd like another sit-down face-to-face, because how dare they call this individual female and say a gun person, and you would have seen it all on the news. We needed to be able to identify this individual. Children were massacred in a school because of this. But this is going to be the show next week. Stop indoctrinating our kids to death. And the stats Dr. McCullough put out, if you're not aware of it, here I've said comprehensive sexuality education is SOGI 123. It's back to basics in Nova Scotia. It is WinSex Ed in Ontario, and by other names in every single province. And it's got to be pulled out from the roots. This is what is causing our kids to be confused. Now, what happens when they send them down this path of hormone blockers, cross-sex hormones, and SSRIs is that Dr. McCullough came out with a report on Sweden, had 2 different reports, and within these, the research in this one, 856,000 plus individuals were prescribed SSRIs, and these are antidepressants. And Sarah was told, and the kids, once they get on antidepressants, 12, 13, 14 years old, at 15 and 16, they're going, boy, I like that boy. And things are not sitting right. So what do the doctors do? They up the antidepressants to keep them dumbed down and controllable. Now, what are the antidepressants doing? This report shows that young users had a 43% higher risk of violent crime. So you tell me what happened to that young man in Tumbler Ridge. Okay, and the reason we have that image right here of the show is because he was also doing magic mushrooms and weed. And then, you know, when you get a prescription, the pharmacist is comparing it to other medications you may be on to see how it's going to react. So you can't turn around if David Eby comes out and says, oh, you know, it was the carcinogen made him in his mind crazy, he had mental health issues. No, you created that problem. And I'm going to have a call to action that's going to be coming out, holding David Eby and every premier to account. So that's why, please, if you haven't joined Action for Canada, I don't mind, get your phone out right now and do it, because I sent out a call to action that came out today on banning Ramadan from every single publicly taxpayer-funded institution. You don't bring that stuff in, but now we're going to go after every single premier to say, we've served you notices of liability back in 2022, I started the NOLs against SOGI, WinSex Ed, etc. Premier Eby has been served. We showed them the measurable harm that's happening to children. And when we did that in Alberta, that's when you saw we sat down. Kim, stand up for a minute, is my national chapter leader coordinator. Kim is from Calgary, and we did what we did. I'll show you a couple of wins because I want you to feel motivated tonight. I don't want you to feel, there's lots of podcasters out there reporting on what's happening, but none of them are giving you solutions like Action for Canada does, and the resources and the evidence that this is working. So we got the books removed in Alberta. They're still working on it, but now we're back saying to them, the main ask when we came and sat down with you was that SOGI 123 be removed. And now we're showing you the evidence that what you're doing by indoctrinating our kids is leading to them to these drugs, leading them to their bodies to be mutilated, and a 19 times higher rate of suicide. Don't let them tell you that transgendering, you want a dead daughter or a live son, is actually the facts. It's a lie. And we want parents to be able to be embraced and supported, but you all need to be educated, and we do that education for you. But it may be an hour a day spending it on our website, watching a video, and getting it. Some of the chapter leaders, Terry is just precious in Oshawa. She goes, oh, Tanya, I wish I could speak like you. I say, well, then you're going to have to spend 24 hours a day absorbing all of this. That's why I can speak the way I do, because I educated myself, and then I decided to educate others. You live and breathe it. And I'm not asking you to live and breathe it, but we're making it so easy for you to access this information so you can have an intelligent conversation, a respectful conversation with your elected officials. The massive win was first in 2023. And we heard in April that the government was going to start implementing SOGI 123 there. Right now it's in BC and Alberta. And we know the ARC Foundation, who started all of this, they wanted it in Saskatchewan. Our team found out, we started lobbying for government. One of the education minister happened to go to church with one of our people. And we said, look, these are the measurable harms. We served them the notice of liability. And by August, they banned Planned Parenthood. That was a different issue. And they stopped SOGI 123 from being implemented. Now, the radical LGBTQ activists and the attorneys and lawyers that are all working together are going up against Scott Moe. He's had to take some tough steps to counter that, to maintain this win, as is Danielle Smith doing, and kudos to her in Alberta. But that means they need to hear from the public. You are the voting voice that they want to know is going to show up at the poll. But for the right reasons, you make sure that these people have proven that they're willing to put themselves out there and do this. So that was a great win. We used that same strategy, worked it in Alberta, put a 3-inch binder of information together to prove the measurable harms, and respectfully, they heard us. Now, what we also do is we create resources, parental rights. Parents need to 100% know what their parental rights are, and we've done that. So if family services show up or the government shows up, you give them this document and tell them to get educated on that, because we're on the front line protecting our kids. Because if you don't go along with the delusions that they filled your kid's head with in the education system, family services will say you're an abusive parent, will actually remove your children. And it's happened. It's happened. It's happening all the time. Now, on that, I have a lawsuit against me, started a year ago, Christmas, 2024 Christmas, and this drag queen it's a defamation lawsuit. And because I was exposing what he was doing, he made murder videos where he chopped people up and ate them, and it ends up, he's in Kelowna and he's an education assistant in the school system. So I said, I don't think that it's appropriate that this person has his YouTube out there, and you should have seen what's on his vile, like crude stuff on his Facebook page. It was open to the public. So the kids that would follow drag queen Frida Wales and his little Frida Wales channel for children would be accessible one click away. Don't let your kids on computers. Just keep them away from your phones. They don't need it. Okay, so we have turned around and we filed a SLAP application in September, and my affidavit, their lawyers within 24 hours said, oh, I think we should put this on pause because our evidence is so compelling. So I will be in court in June. And so this costs money. I'm going to have to pay $20,000 more for my lawyer to go through this next process. And so that's why we're encouraging people, please help us be on the front line of this battle, because this is going to set a precedent. Drag queens won a case in Ontario that this guy, Tyson Cook, has been watching, and he thought it was a great win and a cash cow, because this poor sucker that put something on Facebook about a drag queen, how much was it? To $360,000 or something, the activist judge awarded the drag queens. So if we're not going to lose this case because the evidence is too powerful to show, and I want to go before a jury if that's the case. So they need to rectify this before June, but that's just the battles that we're willing to be in, and strategically, in order to shut this down and also bring attention to the public of what the war is. Now, again, I'm going to quickly shift to another topic. We've been on the front line since a chief went after me in October of 2020. He actually put my life at risk and stuff by calling me a racist and a bigot because I happened to mention some facts. It led to me creating this page all about UNDRIP, all of the facts, some breaking news on here, but the hundreds of billions of dollars that are being transferred in this wealth transfer over to the chiefs. We know that the bands, the members, aren't receiving these funds, that they're living in poverty, that they're not excelling. We got to rip up the Indian Act. We got to free these people from the clutches of the government who is using them as pawns. They're using them as pawns for the global agenda to take away your property, so as Klaus Schwab, the evil villain, says, that you will own nothing and be happy. They never mean what they say. It's always the reverse. So we are fighting really hard to talk on a very controversial, everybody, it's psychological, military psychological warfare that we've been through, so that we would actually say, oh yeah, we're bad people. No, we're not. We're not bad people. I mean, if we were bad people, we'd be like the Muslims going into the Christian nations when they took them over and they slaughtered everybody. That didn't happen when the Europeans came here and formed this nation. And we need to put things back into reality. We've been a very blessed nation. They've been blessed by it if they would know it. And now Canadians who have had nothing to do with any harms to these individuals, we're taxpayers and we're taxpayered out. We can't continue to do this. We can't continue to open our borders to individuals. We have compassionate hearts. We want to help people, but this is not the way to do it, to conquer, destroy, divide us. We have to have common ground. We have to be equal under the Constitution. That's what it talks about, and that's what the goal is. So if you want to see facts about the graves, facts about amazing, amazing individuals like Michelle Sterling, who I've had on the show, she gives research over what it is that they're telling us, like lies about you murdered all of these kids, and then she gives the research about the reports that were given to the RCMP about the fact that there was no murdered and missing children. There were diseases, and equally that Caucasian children as well died during those times. It was traumatic for everybody. Or that these children's parents would die, and that they were orphaned, and it was the Europeans that brought them in and gave them a life. And they don't want you to hear about the stories from that side. So I know it's a contentious issue. That is why, the people are outside. If we could just have a reasonable, based on the facts, we have the facts on this page, so I can't dig into them. We've done multiple shows on it. If you're sitting there going, oh my gosh, Tanya, I can't believe you're saying that. These, look at us, white supremacists and colonialists and what we did, and we should just keep handing everything in our land over to them. It's not right. It's not moral. It's not right to perpetuate victimhood. You'll know a strategy of the government. It was to victimize the so-called LGBTQ youth, to elevate them within the school system. It is to victimize the Indians. And I say the Indians because it's according to the Indian Act. They're not Indigenous. They immigrated to Canada as well at some point, and they're not First Nations. They weren't first, and they never, out of the 640 tribes, never created a nation. All right? They were infighting. They were killing each other, and they weren't getting along, and they're still fighting over land and property rights today. And so are they looking for reparations from their own tribes and groups? No, because this is the cash cow. And it's driven by a globalist agenda. They will never end up with the property that the globalists are suggesting. The globalists are after control of our water, all of our natural resources. These people are evil running this. And they are greedy, and they don't care who gets in the way or who they destroy and who they divide and conquer as a nation. And we got to put a stop to it. And we really want to unite with them and have them understand we're fighting for you. We're fighting for you. Okay, 15-minute cities. You might have heard about that. We've had a massive win in Winnipeg, also in Ontario. We shut down one of the biggest 15-minute city plans in Winnipeg. 18 districts they were trying to take over by removing the mayor and council, their voice by the elected representatives for the people, and we just took it down. Yeah, we just took it down. But our team remains vigilant, and it took 2 or 3 of us. I worked day and night with Pierre as he rallied people in the community to show up at the events, and so many showed up, thousands, that they didn't have a venue big enough in order for this meeting to take place. And by the bylaws, they needed a meeting to fit everybody, and everybody have a voice, and they didn't have a big enough place. It would have to been a stadium anyways, a long run at it. And we really exposed them. Go and check it out. It's just fantastic. Now I'm going to go into the political Islam and the immigration, and then I'm going to wrap it up. A couple of things that I really want to bring to your attention. So back in 2018, I started a report called The Rise of Political Islam. That's right here. It's in 4 sections. It may look really, really long. And it started because they were going for the Islamophobia motion to quell criticism of Islam. And then they staged that mosque shooting because my own MP, who happened to be a liberal, he was saying, he says, I'm going to be absent for the vote. You can't legislate against fear. fear of Islam. And I'm like, yeah, that's right. But also this is a Canadian country and you're not going to shut us down and give them more power. Look at what's going on. So I sent him at least a dozen emails showing headlines what Muslims were doing as far as attacks were against Canadians. So he said, anybody can cherry pick, Tanya. Yeah, that's what I got. I'm like, are you kidding me? Let's go. So I created this page and I outline the Muslim Brotherhood they're strategic. The Muslim Brotherhood is rampant throughout Canada. The NCCM are reported tied to them. MAC, Muslim Association Canada, is reported tied to them. CRA is investigating them. They're operating schools in Canada. And it's a really scary deal about the elected officials that get more money and they're less concerned. Greed is at the root of this, but God can overcome it. And that's why they're allowing this terrorism and these terrorist groups to continue to operate here in Canada. So the process of the Muslim Brotherhood is a civilization jihad process with all the term means. The Ikhwan Muslim Brotherhood must understand that their work in America, Canada, is a kind of grand jihad in eliminating and destroying the Western civilization from within and sabotaging its miserable house by their hands and the hands of believers so that it eliminates and God's, I'm not even going to repeat his name, religion is made victorious over all other religions. And so that's why I sent out the Ramadan. I said, everybody, you take that letter and you send it to your MP, MLA, mayor, city council, whoever is saying, oh, let's celebrate the month of Ramadan. Oh, no, you don't. You should not be doing that in Canada. That's an accommodation. And that's the way they are pressing in to bring Sharia law and their belief system into Canada. They're also using our human rights tribunals, these kangaroo courts, to put in as many complaints as possible. There's actually the NCCM on their website. It shows you how to file human rights complaints. I wasn't allowed to wear my hijab at work. I wasn't allowed to do prayer 3 times at work. You know, the employees were shaking hands. You know, human rights, boo-hoo, victimization. Victimization is the tool to advance it. And us nice Canadians have been nice too long. And there is nothing in the Word of God or within society, you would be called, you're foolish if you're going to continue and you don't find your voice to say, no, we know the dangers. They're telling us what they want to do. They're letting us know there's over 109 verses, that's in the action I sent out last night, that talk about killing the infidel, beheading us. Sorry. And killing the infidel and beheading us. Thanks, Kim. So we got to listen. And I don't hate anybody. I love Canada. And I want to, yeah. Anyways, this goes down. You can see the massive amounts of links. These are all, this is me just cherry picking. Cherry picking what's going on in the mosques, the halal products that are coming in, and the Sharia. That's cherry picking. I stopped doing this in 2019. Do you know how big this list would be? I didn't have time because I had other work to do. So this is what went out last night. Protect Canada, stop Ramadan accommodations. I explained the Battle of Batar. I say, hey, go to the letter. And then you just copy and paste this. We make it really easy. There's PM Carney's, I don't want to call him PM. He's not a PM. Anyways, there's Mark Carney's email address. You can find your local MP. Here's a list of the premiers. Just take 10, 15 minutes of your time and do that, please. I've sent it to the Persian community who's out by the tens of thousands on the street. I have a contact who's really been helping me out. We partnered up. And I said, can you get this action out to all of them? These are not Muslim Iranians. These are the Iranians that left when the Muslim regime came in. Okay? They want their country back. And they know what's coming into Canada and the threat. And you can bet the government's like, oh, that's 30,000 voters there. Who do I want to listen to today? All right? So I want those 30,000 people to be taking this letter and writing it to Carney and their MPs. Japan is fighting back as a few examples against Muslim migration, closing down 100 mosques. Here in Greece as well, they're shutting down 60 mosques. And I mean, it is happening. We are not on the wrong side of history. We are not on the wrong side of history by demanding these people come in and integrate and assimilate. Otherwise, this isn't the best choice for them. I'm not going to apologize for that. They're not apologizing for offending us. It's time. It's over. I had Maxime on, and it's Poland, Hungary, Italy, Brazil, Chile, Japan, El Salvador, USA, Argentina, and growing. These are populous countries. These are countries that boldly got behind a populist leader and said, I'm going to do everything I can to get them elected. Man, are they being blessed. And they are proclaiming, the key is they are proclaiming their countries as Christian nations. They're getting back to the roots. Again, for you unbelievers in here, I'm just encouraging you in these facts. Now, let's talk about Surrey. This is central here in BC. Punjabi gangsters behind search and extortion threats. So Surrey declares an emergency. You know, well, why have you been accommodating them? Why are you accommodating the temples, which we know that there is terrorism cells going on? Why are you accommodating the mosques and doing the same? This is headline news. This is constantly across the country, but especially here in the capital of extortion. I think Surrey is the capital of Canada, and it's not extortion. It is open migration of people that are violent, and they're from a violent culture. Not all cultures are equal. I was saying to Kim today, I'm not a racist. I don't care about the color of your skin. I care about the condition of your heart and your mind, but I'm a culturalist, okay? Not all cultures are equal. Some are better, and it's based on what their belief system is, and that is known as a fact. So what is going on? I'll just play a second for this. So this guy is a Khalistani Sikh talking outside the Guru Nak. So he goes on, he says, the police are afraid of us, we got weapons, come and get us, they know we'll shoot them. And so I brought this immediately, I sent it to the police. But here's the new Surrey police in a Sikh event that was going on somewhere in Surrey. These are two new Surrey police officers with the new, this was October of 2024, and I've been waiting for a response from the police because I filed a complaint. Look what they're doing. Should uniformed police, they should be fired. That shows a political, they're Khalistanis, whatever they are. When they show up at my door, I'm sorry, I'm not racist. I don't want these individuals in our police. If you want to be part of our police, you're not going to wear a tie. We have a haircut, we have a way of acting, and you don't go out and do a mock sword fight. That showed very, very bad judgment, in my opinion, my strong opinion. They should be fired. And they're not getting back to me. Now, let's take a look at what they're doing about extortion. This is on the Surrey Police Service. Can any of you read that? Okay, some of it. There's some bits in there in English. Now it gets better. They feel they need to put a message out. To the extortionists, to the Khalistanis, to the Sikhs. Can you understand what he's saying? Why is this happening in Canada? Now, one more step. Now, they say this gentleman got elected.
Against that bill. We also had a bill by my colleague Arpan Khanna, the jail not bail, to strengthen our bail laws. That bill also was stopped from being fast-tracked. We have attempted in Justice Committee to move forward and support the Liberal bail changes.
So he's talking about tightening our immigration laws, get rid of loopholes, and bring back tougher sentences. We just got to assert our immigration laws. What he's wanting to do is he's wanting to keep. We got 4.8 million visa holders that are expired. Rest of them this year, 4.8 million in Canada. They signed a contract, they're out. They're here illegally. Okay, and he wants to work out ways as a Conservative MP, and here you go, it gets better. This is...
House of Commons ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ as a official opposition leader ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ especially Justin Trudeau ਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ question ਵੀ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ ਸੀਗਾ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਤੁਸੀਂ deportation ਕਿਦੋਂ ਬੰਦ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ.
So he wants to stop deportations. Okay, so I believe he's he's in Chilliwack or Abbotsford. That's a Conservative MP. Is it Edmonton? Tim Uppal. Okay, thank you. But we have a similar fella here who, during the process, this is who the Conservatives are leading. This is identity politics at its worst, because they are bringing their foreign belief systems and they're inserting them into our policing, into our government, and it's anti-Canadian. I'm getting sad about this. People are welcome here. We've always been very welcoming to immigration, but they must integrate, assimilate, and you speak either one of the two recognized languages, English or French. And this is why I believe we need to bring the Bible back, that they need to swear an oath on the Bible. They've actually sworn an oath according to the coronation oath. And the King Charles, as much as, whatever you have to say about him, he didn't want to sign it because Queen Elizabeth did, and the monarchs back to 1,000 years ago. And what ended up, its coronation oath is a binding agreement that you will have not learned about in school, and you will not hear about in government. I called it a buried treasure that needs to be resurrected. And the king swore to govern the Commonwealth based on Protestant Christian faith and biblical and on the Bible. Do any of you know that other than having heard it from me? That means that we are to be governed by. That means when we get a new government in, they can turn over Bill C-16, get rid of motion, a non-binding agreement like motion M-103, shut down all these false gods, an 80-foot monkey temple or whatever it is, monkey god that's in Brampton, Ontario right now. All right? And Bill C-9. So we have done the work in putting actions out regarding Bill C-9, and the Governor General, David Lindsay, created the letter. He's brilliant. And it explained the Governor General and her limitations, that she doesn't have more power than the king. So she can't write a bill in if it's in violation of what? Our Christian principles. You can't ban the Bible or make it illegal, because these are our foundational binding documents, but most Canadians don't know about them. And so we're trying to find lawyers to go into court with us and fight this fight, but you need a fire in your belly. The other side is proclaiming lies. What was it, what that silly illiberal MP said? Oh, you just say it loud enough and often enough. You can just overtalk them, and that'll become the truth. Well, we need to repeat the truth often and often enough until it becomes the truth again, and to stop the lies. Okay, so that's bringing it to an end. I just wanted to show you under current issues. You want to learn about 15-minute cities, childhood vaccines. I'm going to put a plug in there, you guys. It's all coming down. And it's proving. Amen. We've got great information on here. Please share it with parents who are still choosing to vaccinate their children and give it. I don't even call it vaccines. They know these are causing harms. They go from 16 doses in the 60s up to 72 doses. Now our kids are just money manufacturing despite the high rate of autism and all of the other autoimmune disorders and diseases that they're getting. It's just got to stop. So anyways, you'll see on finances, food security, and all kinds of good stuff there. And we have this is our 4th annual prayer walk for revival. It starts from Passover to Pentecost, from April 2nd to May 22nd. Our chapter leaders across the nation, they come together with the community, and they go to school boards, city councils, libraries, and other locations. And each week they pray around them. They go around and they pray. And we had it in Kelowna, where they went 7 times around this wicked superintendent that was overseeing the Kelowna School Board, where this drag queen is. And after, no word of a lie, it's like that night or the next day, bricks came out of the wall. And they were trying to get it repaired so fast that our team was in there saying, oh, what happened to the building? Oh, it was a windstorm. And literally, verbatim, this is what happened. And so we know that God, the thing is, the 7 times when you walk around Jericho in the Bible, and then the wall fell. And so it ends up, the superintendent, his brother's a pastor, so he knew the story. All right, so join us for that. Every single year, we've had major wins. The first year, second year was the one when we had the major win a couple of months later in Saskatchewan. And then last year, it was during it that we had the win in Alberta, and we can't wait to see what God is going to do this year. So in closing, the scripture I want to just share with you from Galatians 6:9. Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Amen? Amen. Okay. So I'm praying that God is putting a fire in your belly. And we're going to ask you, whether you go online and look up our chapter page. Like I say, where was I going back here? If you go under join, you can see A for C chapters there. You just even would fill out the form and we just call you and have a conversation. Meet with our group out here, but we used to have some really active chapters, but some got worn out, and for other reasons, health reasons, we lost some people. Our provincial leader, I'm just going to give Lowry a shout out. She just passed away. And she was just so precious, and she loved the Lord so much, and she was such a key part of our team. We are a family. So come join our family, be part of what we're doing. You're going to be so amazed. And I just, again, thank you so much for your time tonight, and I'm really looking forward to our next speaker. Okay, thank you.
Honestly, Tanya, your work never ceases to amaze me. Thank you for everything that you do to make this world a better place. Yeah. I want to highlight something about the message that we just heard. What's being built through Action for Canada is not just information. It is practical tools, well thought out strategies, and a clear path to the many different ways in which a person can get involved. But work like this requires support from people like us, offering our time and our talents and our treasures, as I mentioned before. And Action for Canada runs mostly entirely on volunteers. And although there are a few key paid positions to help with strategy implementation and to just help keep the organization functioning on a day in and day out basis, we still need so many more hands on deck, so that we can flood this province with simultaneous action in every single community. So Kim, as Tanya was mentioning, our national chapter coordinator, if you have any questions about volunteering and you want to know a little bit more, just to have her elaborate, please, you can go and talk to Kim. I'm going to have her come up in just a minute. She's an integral part of building this team as well. So Kim, thank you to you also for everything that you're doing. And of course, on top of the need for volunteers, we need funds to help cover technical expenses to support the massive email system travel costs so that Tanya can meet with both national and international leaders that she's helping to gain support with to help push back on this Trudeau, Carney, gong show nightmare that we're living in. So, and of course, there is still significant legal fees. And let me remind you that Action for Canada is still one of the only lawsuits that is in the courts right now that is pushing against the mandates. And those of you, there's many of you know that what I'm talking about. There's not any other cases out there that are still fighting like Tanya is right now. And the bottom line is that Action for Canada is one of the single most active organizations across this province and country actually making an impact with every level of government. And it operates solely because of people like you and me. So this is the reality of grassroots work. If we want change, it has to start here. A show of hands. How many here are tired of the government garbage and are ready for real change? Yeah, I thought so. And as you all know, tonight's event is by donation. So some of you maybe donated on the way out in the door, but we'll be sending around some baskets around the room so that you can do just that if you have not yet. You've now heard about the tremendous amount of incredible work that is being done. And in order for it all to get done, we need to chip in. The responsibility cannot just weigh on a few. There is also an option to donate online. Tanya, do you have that up? Maybe we can get that up here, please. There's an option to donate online, and for anybody who feels really compelled to help, there is also an option to become a monthly supporter, I believe, here as well through this link. Yep. Correct? Yep.
Yeah, you just go down and click on whatever option. Sorry.
That's okay, go ahead. And lastly, I know more than anything, we're really hoping to have a few strong chapter leaders, Kim, if you want to come up, dedicated to and volunteers to step forward. So if you're feeling like this is your calling, please fill out an expression of interest form on the website, and someone will get in touch with you to literally hold your hand through this process. However you would like to be involved with the team, there are so many different ways. And, Kim, where do they go to get all this information? So if you want to...
Thanks. Just super real quick. When you go on to our chapter page that Tanya brought up, you go to join and you can find our chapter page right there, A4C chapters, brings up this page. If you want to just discuss maybe starting a chapter or refreshing a chapter in this Lower Mainland or wherever you're from, just click on learn more about chapter leadership and volunteering. So we go through a process of bringing in people that feel called to the leadership because it's not for the faint of heart. And we have some of our chapter leaders here. I see Christina and I think Renee is here as well. There she is. And so, and other members too. So if you do that, you just click right there for having a discussion, just to talk about what it's about. If you want to do connecting as a volunteer, you're not ready for leadership yet, but you want to learn about this a little bit more and you want to roll up your sleeves and get to work, you need to get connected to the nearest chapter to you. And if there isn't one, there's a way to connect to our virtual chapter, which means we'll just get you going with just simple tasks, education, and action. So connect with your local chapter is the way to do that. And also if you want to do leadership, click on that blue button there and follow the prompts and fill out the form. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Just know that as a volunteer, you're not expected to figure this all out on your own. Kim will literally hold your hand through the whole process. And so the bottom line is, ladies, if you want to go around with the baskets, please. Bottom line is that the more of us that get involved, the faster that we can take the garbage out of this province and get this home cleaned up and running the way that it should be. And now, as we've got our donation baskets going around, I'm going to just introduce somebody who probably doesn't really need an introduction in this room. But for the first time in Everland, we have a voice that reflects what so many everyday British Columbians have been thinking and feeling, and were afraid that no one would ever say out loud inside the walls of the legislature. For many, Dallas has been a breath of fresh air when it comes to our government. She does not shy away from the difficult conversations either. She does not retreat when the pressure mounts, and she does not compromise when it comes to doing what's right. For the opposition, she is considered a thorn in the side because she is exposing what many would have preferred to stay hidden. Every day that she walks into that chamber, knowing the weight of it, knowing the resistance, because she is one in 93 voices that is courageous enough to speak truth, and she stands in the gap anyways, because it's the right thing to do. She's spoken openly about her nerves and what the responsibility that comes with that, and the courage is not absent of nerves. Courage is stepping forward despite them. And she does this because the truth matters, which is what tonight is all about. The truth matters, not when it's convenient, not when it's popular, but especially when it isn't. She is asking the questions others won't, and she is doing it with strength and clarity and integrity. And she's a lion standing firm in a room that does not always welcome truth, and yet she refuses to shrink. Thank you, Dallas. Please join me in welcoming party leader of 1BC, MLA Dallas Brodie.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're allowed to say that again, because in my world, we speak that way. I want to thank you all for coming out tonight, and I want to say what a tough act to follow with Tanya Gaw and Danielle Pastilli. These are two amazing women who have actually inspired me to find my courage and my strength, and I want to thank you so much, both of you amazing ladies. They were out in the forefront before some of us found our courage and learned how to speak up on these issues. And I relied on them because I watched them during the mandates. And I really was scared back then watching what was happening around me. And I was fearful for myself and for my children. And people like Tanya and Danielle, I learned later the work that she was doing were inspirational and incredible. So I want to say, first of all, that 1BC is a party that was only... Yeah, you can close that, thanks. 1BC is a party that was just formed last June, and we are doing so well, and I really believe that we are at the forefront of a movement that is literally going to sweep this province. Like, I feel very optimistic, I really do, because even though quietly a lot of people, they tell me I can't say it out loud, Dallas, but they approach me in the church, they approach me in the grocery stores, they approach me in the legislature, if you can believe it. I get secret smiles from all these people who are working there who quietly go, I know I'm not supposed to do this, Dallas, but... And they tell me that they're really happy, and I get doors open for me by the sheriffs. They say, good morning, MLA Brodie, opening the door for me. And I really know that quietly so many people are starving for the truth. And that building has been a shock to me, what I've experienced there. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about that. Tanya has covered so much ground. So what I want to do is talk to you mainly about the journey I went on, because it will tell you really the whole story of what's going on in our province. When I got elected with the Conservative Party of British Columbia, I was really excited because I thought the Conservative Party was going to be this incredible new force in the legislature. When we got over there, I found out that everything was not what I thought it was going to be at all. The very first caucus meeting we had, it took a couple of caucus meetings, and a caucus meeting is basically where all the elected MLAs get together. That's what a caucus is. So all the people who have been elected for your party come together and they have meetings. And it was really, after about 2 or 3 meetings, you started realizing what had really happened here. Well, a bunch of conservatives who were basically motivated by the freedom movement were running for election. We were working on our campaigns, and we were working on the front end of this. And in the background, John Rustad was backloading the truck with liberals. And not just liberals. We're talking some of these people are truly NDP. They shouldn't be anywhere near our party. So it was a shock, not just to find we just had different variations, different shades of conservatives. We had full-blown NDPers, trans activists in our party, people who were all for controlled speech. It was shocking to my system, and I couldn't believe what had happened. And then what happens is you get over there and you start to put your hand up and say, wait a second. And then you get the pressure to conform. And I couldn't believe it. I mean, I've been in a lot of high pressure situations in my life. I practiced law for a long time. I've been in boardrooms. I've been in courtrooms. I was an arbitrator for 10 years. I've been in broadcasting. I've done a lot of different places, but I've never experienced this intensity of peer pressure, social pressure, and full-on bullying that I have experienced in that legislature, in our caucus and in that legislature. It's horrendous. And I used to think, well, they say that Washington D.C. is a swamp. I now understand. And when you go there full of energy to bring these great ideas and do what you were asked to do. You get there and they whip it out of you and they control you. And you. What happened in our specific party is as soon as we got there, I found that the true conservatives, and there are some left in there, but they're scared. They're scared of what they did to me, and I'll go into some detail of what they did to me. They got terrified of stepping out of line again. And I was used as the example for what's going to happen to you if you dare do what Brodie did. And so what happened is everybody started folding in, and I basically, I stood my ground, and I started standing my ground more and more. And so this is what basically brought me to the position I'm in, is that I was the Attorney General critic for the Conservative Party of British Columbia, and an interesting file came up. It was involving the Law Society of British Columbia. Now, the Law Society is the governing body for all lawyers in this province, and you have to be a member of the Law Society, and it's a very important institution. If you're a lawyer, you have to abide by the rules. You swear an allegiance, and there are rules and codes of conduct you follow. So in the last, I guess, 5 or 6 years, I guess it's less than that, maybe 5 years, they've introduced a course that's mandatory for all lawyers to take. And it's about Indigenous awareness and cultural sensitivity. I don't know the exact name of it, but it's mandatory. In the materials that they handed out in that course, there was reference to the 215 bodies that are claimed to have been buried in a mass grave after having been murdered at the Kamloops Indian Residential School. One lawyer who is a hero, all of you should know his name. His name is Jim Heller, also a hero, just like these people are, and I think all of you are here too. But Jim had the temerity to send an email to the Law Society about the fact that this still a lie about there being 215 dead children in a mass grave there was wrong, because there had been no proof that there are bodies, and he wrote emails to the Law Society requiring or asking, add the word potential burials in front of this word. He was ignored. Email after email went. I think he sent about 4 different ones to the governing people at the Law Society. They completely ignored him. Jim is a criminal defense lawyer, and criminal defense lawyers tend to be tougher and more outside the box than sort of corporate lawyers who tend to just, very strict. They even dress differently. I saw the difference when I switched different practices. They're much more rebellious. They have a rebellious spirit. They're out there. They're dealing with, defending people. He wasn't. He had guts, and so he said, basically, screw you. I'm going to bring it to the annual general meeting then of the Law Society. So Jim wrote a resolution saying that these materials needed to be amended. This is all he was asking for the word potential to be added to the materials. They fought him even on this. So he brought it. There was discussions online. Lawyers could weigh in on both sides of this. And in the context of the discussion that was going on between the lawyers on this online discussion, the Law Society brought in a comment from a group, the Indigenous Justice Council. I forget their exact name. There's so many of them now. But they basically put something into the conversation that identified Jim as being a racist and a denialist. He was on vacation with his wife when he saw these materials come to light, and he said he looked at Laurie and he said, Laurie, they're defaming me. This is what his own Law Society is doing to him for demanding that the materials simply be correct. And I might add that the Chief Justice of the Court of Appeal of British Columbia, Len Marchand, is Indigenous himself and has already rendered a judgment saying there are no actual children found. It's still potential. So this is even in a law case called Regina versus Dick that had been brought in the courts. So it's already being proclaimed in a case, but that didn't matter. The Law Society didn't care. They labeled Jim a racist and a denialist. So he decided he had to sue, and he sued the Law Society for defamation. This case, yeah, good for Jim. And this is expensive. Jim's not a wealthy man. He's a good lawyer. He's got a good life, but he's not. This is expensive, but he did it. So when the National Post had this article, it said, lawyers sues Law Society for defamation. Someone I was working with said, Dallas, you should look at this. I looked at this and I said, let's go. And I did my very first post on X that I had ever done. And I said, there are 0 bodies that have been found at the Kamloops Indian Residential School. And then it said 0. And then it said, if there can't be truth at the Law Society, there will be truth nowhere. Something like that. Basically, that's what it said. That's when the trouble started for me, okay? And I'll also tell you that I got permission from the communications person in my party to post that before I posted it. He didn't ask me what I was going to post, but he said, go for it, Dallas. I think that's great. So I posted that. 3 hours later, I get this call from the same guy saying, can you take it down? I'm like, Brad, I just put it up. I'm not taking it down. He said, well, Alia Warbus is yelling at me. She was made the House leader for the Conservative Party. She's a trans activist. She's Indigenous herself, but she apparently, the pressure came on to John. Alia got calls. Everybody went crazy. She was apparently yelling at Brad. Brad's yelling at me. And I said, I'm not taking it down. Then I got a call from John Rustad, and he says, I need to meet with you. I'm like, oh, now I'm really going into trouble. So I said, John met with me and he said, Dallas, I want you to take this post down. He said, it's not that it's wrong. It's just that the tone is bad. Okay, so this is what we officially called tone policing, okay? Put that word in your vocabulary, and when this is called tone policing, and it's a big thing, okay? I said, but John, there's nothing wrong. And he goes, no, but Dallas, that's not the point. It's not that it's wrong. It's just that it's coming across the wrong way, and I don't like it, and it's causing people to be upset. So that's what happened. And then I still held the line and I said, no, John, I'm not taking it down, because I also believed that my personal integrity was on the line. If you put something up and then you take it down, you're done. Okay? Once you've... I've learned that, and this is actually a struggle session that they put you through. It's right out of Mao's playbook. This is the modern day struggle session that you're subjected to. Take it down, no I won't. Take it down, no I won't. And they try and get you just to conform. And holding it right there was really hard, those few days. And then unbeknownst to me, I was in the ledge that day. I was still holding the line. John went to the media behind my back, held a press conference over in Victoria, and told them all that he had told me to take it down, even though I thought it had been a private conversation between me and the leader of my party. I come out of the legislature, lights flashed on. I'm surrounded by media. I was like, what's going on? John Rustad just told us that he told you to take it down, this thing, and you didn't take it down. Are you denying that there were residential schools in British Columbia, Ms. MLA Brodie? Are you denying that children were hurt? I'm like, and the lights are all on me. And I was like, wow, this is intense. So John did that and left me hanging out there by myself. I answered the question and said, of course I'm not saying that, but I stand for truth. And if we can't have truth at the Law Society, there will be truth nowhere. I promise you that. So I went through that, and then it got worse for me, because then I went on a Zoom program that week to discuss what had happened with Francis Widdowson and Jim McMurtry and some other people who are well aware of the lies and what we're experiencing with this whole Aboriginal file. And I was talking in that video about the cultural Marxism that we're all experiencing right now. And I don't know if you know what that is, but it's called postmodern cultural Marxism. And what it is modernism was a time when we all agreed there were certain fundamental truths that we could all adhere to. Like the sky is blue and then it's dark at night, like things that we could all accept. The speed of gravity, the things that make life work. And these, we've all thought this is true, this is how a boat floats, this is, this things. Postmodernism means that none of that is acceptable anymore. Every truth is valid. That's postmodernism. I've had to learn about this. And it's basically that says my truth, your truth, his truth, grandma's truth, everybody's truth. So I did this on this video. I said what I was experiencing is that every truth is supposed to be acceptable. And the Law Society, it doesn't matter if we've got lies at the Law Society, because someone else believes it's true. So that's all that matters. This Zoom call got taken. I was speaking in it. They took it, altered the video, squeezed it down into something that made me look really, quite mean, I would say. I looked, my truth, your truth, his truth. And I did that. They squeezed it into a 4-second clip. And I went into the last caucus meeting I was in. I walked in that door that day, and I was set up. The whole caucus the people on the Liberal side of the caucus had set me up, and they all just started swearing at me, yelling at me, calling me names. Alia Warbus told me that I was disgusting and that I was mocking child sex abuse survivors, if you can believe it. I mean, that is so anathema to me to think that anyone would say that I would do that, considering I even spent 7 years of my life defending young offenders, and a lot of them were Indigenous. Like the sickness of what they did to me. And then I got, that was the meeting that we had. And after that, I tried to stand up and explain to them, because I think a lot of them didn't even know about the Law Society issue. And I just got called down, shouted at. And I remember my face got so hot I could barely feel it. And I thought, I gotta go. I gotta get out of here. I can't take it. You can see, it was a really bad day for me. But I remember John then later said, Dallas stormed out. It's like, I could barely walk. I was hardly storming. I just said, I said to myself, get your briefcase and just quietly go. And I just crept out the door, and I went downstairs, and they had tipped off the media already that they were going to be doing this to me. in the meeting. So I walked out the door. Thank God I had left early because they were waiting right outside the door for me, a whole swarm again. But I came out earlier and they were like, there she is. Let's get her, get the cameras. And they weren't ready for me. And I was again set up. So I managed to slip by. They tried to follow me down the stairs, but they were like, get the camera, get the camera. And they missed getting that from me. But I went down to my office and just shook. And a bunch of people followed me out of that meeting who did support me. But it was a really bad day. And then later that afternoon, they issued a press release saying that I was mocking child sex abuse survivors and that I was giving support to pedophiles. That's what John Rustad, Brad Zubik, Anthony Kosh, and all these people did to me. And so I had to live with this. And I remember leaving the ledge that day or walking by, and one lady said, oh, you're the racist. I mean, this is what I was up against now. So after that, I don't think much can scare me or upset me anymore. So I'll tell you now. So, so in the meantime, we've started a party. I did a documentary. I worked on a really great team. We prepared a documentary. And I want to talk a little bit about, can I go into a little bit of detail about this 215 for a sec? Is that okay with everyone? Okay. We had very good news on this file this week. I want to tell everybody, there's been a ruling from the Privacy Commissioner of Canada that came out a month ago. It was it wasn't really reported in the it wasn't reported really at all by the corporate media, but the National Post did. That's correct. So there's this claim that there were basically 215 babies or children buried in a mass grave at the Kamloops Indian Residential School. This announcement was made in May of 2021, and it was, if you watch the documentary, you'll see the details of it. But in the wake of that, remember the convulsions our country went through? Trudeau went and knelt in the middle of a field with a teddy bear. We had our flag flown at half-mast, and Justin Trudeau said he would fly it at half-mast for as long as the chief of Kamloops of the Kamloops band wanted. Like, you're not the leader of the country anymore, Justin? Like, what's going on? And then over 100 churches were burned and vandalized in the wake of that. I don't know if you remember this. It was just a rash of burnings, and I don't even think anyone's been prosecuted or convicted of anything for that. Okay, thank you. Not a single one. Think of that. Over 100 churches vandalized, some burned to the ground, some burned beyond repair. The other thing is that the New York Times published an article basically saying that Canada has this shameful, dark history of killing these children. A delegation went to the United Nations, and we got designated a genocidal country. Okay, this was big, what they did in the wake of this. And then the band itself, the federal government then gushed all this money out. I think it's close to $350 million was put out to excavate across the country, because now there were claims that there were over 700 locations across the country where there were other dead and buried children. Okay, so in March, right when I was being thrown out of my party for saying this, the federal government quietly pulled all the funding for any more digging, because not one bone had been found in any of the places they did try and do some excavations across the country. But the Kamloops Indian Residential School never gave up on this claim. They still to this day have claimed that they're there, and they demanded and received $12.1 million to dig. And they have not dug anything, and it's been now 4.5 years and they've been stalling. So what happened in the last month is that an investigative journalist group called Blacklock's Reporters had filed a Freedom of Information request in Ottawa for the information, because in order to get the $12.1 million, they were supposed to file progress reports about the digging. Okay? That actually, I was shocked that they required anything, because they usually don't require, you just give the money and forget about whether there's anything done. But they actually had said you have to file progress reports. Amazing. So the progress reports, they were filing, they were trying to get this Freedom of Information request. It dragged on, and then at a year, I don't know if you remember, I think it was September, the federal government actually sealed these documents and said nobody can have them. But Blacklock's was not to be rebuffed. They continued on and they appealed the decision of the initial Freedom of Information request, and they won. And I know, so amazing. So the federal privacy commissioner, because they said we didn't have enough staff, they had all these excuses for why they hadn't given the report, and it was just too complicated, too much. The privacy commissioner, and this is where I have hope that perhaps courage is spreading, because the winds of change are blowing, I'm telling you. She said, nope, there's no excuse for not giving these out. You have to release them within 30 days. So today's the 20th, today's the 30th day. Those reports are now going to be coming out. So, the day before yesterday, what did we see come out of the Kamloops band? Oh, okay, well, we haven't really dug, but we've been having all these conversations with the Catholic Church, and we're looking for records, and there are 119 different bands represented of the children who had come here, and we have to talk to them about if we do find something, how will we return them to you? I mean, just complete garbage excuses for why they haven't done any digging. And now they're saying we're narrowing the scope of if we dig, we don't know if we're gonna dig. But basically, they have admitted that they have not dug and that there are no confirmed burials there. So this is a really big event. And they're trying to bury it in language that will make it seem like it's not as serious a situation, but it is. It's really bad. And in the meantime, over this past year, I have been called every name in the book by every chief in this province. I have been called vile, disgusting, disgraceful, diabolical, racist, denialist, fascist, Nazi, harmful, soulless, it just goes on. And CBC will bring these people on and let them just hack on me solidly for half an hour. They don't ever phone me and ask me if I could come in for half an hour and tell them what I think. Never. They never call me. It's totally one-sided, and they let them just stream on. Grand Chief Stuart Phillip, the other TG, I forget which organization he's the head of, but he's another bigwig. And then Casimir herself has demanded that I resign. So the more they say to me, the tougher I get, and I'm like, okay, you know what? Really, why should I resign? I've actually been elected, and I'm actually standing for truth. You should resign. You should resign. I've also said you have perpetrated a fraud on Canada. You should apologize to Canadians for accusing them of mass murder. And you should refund the money, because it was earmarked for digging with interest. With interest. And they don't like that. Because I'm pushing back just as hard as they're pushing on me. Leah Gazan, who's a federal NDP MP, she actually has been pushing to have what's called residential school denialism made a criminal offense, and they want me to go to jail. They're trying to get this passed as soon as possible because they want me imprisoned. It's unbelievable that this could even be happening. And we're speaking the truth. But they call any time you speak out against the things that are pushed out by what I call the reconciliation industry, they will accuse you of engaging in denialism, using Holocaust language and imagery to talk about something that is completely different, and it's really dangerous. And so I've called them out on that, and I've done it in the Ledge, and I've challenged David Eby, and I've said, so now they want me to go to prison. And that day when I was in the Ledge challenging him, I mean, that was hard to do because I was going to repeat it. And while I'm speaking, saying, I have spoken out about the bodies, the NDP across from me were like, you're disgusting, you're disgusting. disgraceful. I hate you. You can't believe the things they say to me in the ledge. And I'm trying to talk, listening to this vile vitriol coming at me, but I had to say it, and all they just kept calling me was a racist, and they wouldn't answer the questions. So I guess the lesson I've learned is that, and I read a chapter in Charlie Kirk's book. God bless the guy. Like, I'm so sad what they did to him, but terrible. But Charlie Kirk had a chapter in one of his books called "Being Called a Racist is Not the End of the World," and he outlined how this tactic has been used for close to 40 years now to silence people who are getting close to truth. And it is an old weapon. I didn't realize it had been used for this long. But it is the most horrible thing to be called. It's awful to be called a racist, because how do you fight back against that? No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm really not. I have a friend who's Native, or I have like, it's that whole thing. I have a gay friend. No, it's like, it's an awful thing, and you can't fight back against it. So they said you have to just plow through it and understand that they are really nervous about what you're saying, because they're taking out the heavy artillery now. So once you've accepted that that's what they're going to call you, then you can keep fighting on. And if that's not working, then they get nervous, because they're like, uh-oh. Because a lot of people, Charlie said, would simply disappear, go back under their duvet or hide under their bed for a couple of years and try and hope that it'll disappear and someone won't remember. They back away, because it's really awful when that, as James Lindsay calls it, he's an amazing man, a modern day struggle session. They are trying to beat you and destroy your courage and your integrity, and it takes such strength. And I did have good people around me, people in my church, people who supported me, my team, who were there for me to just sit with me in dark times when I was, really scared. I have kids. I have a life. I had to say to friends of mine, like even my trainer, when I go to the gym, like, you don't have to train me anymore if you're worried about what people are saying. I had to talk to people and say, I'm really sorry, but I'm not what they're saying. But I understand if you don't want to be around me. Like, I had to do this because people were, it was awful. But I can give you the good news that it's turned the corner now, and so many people are grateful to me for standing up. And I get letters from Indigenous people around this province who are thanking me, and that is one of the greatest things. I even got a direct message from a young offender who I defended, who was Indigenous years and years ago, and he said, I'm 100% behind you. And he goes, I can't believe you were my lawyer. This was back in early 90s, right? But and I've got even Indigenous people who say they'd like to run for 1BC because they're calling me to tell me what's going on their reserves. And it's really, really sad. The stories are terrible, guys, like really bad. And if you haven't seen the documentary, there are two very brave men in the documentary who are Indigenous, who had the guts to come and put their face on the camera and actually tell the truth. And I asked both of them, are you afraid? They said, no, I've watched this for 40 years. I can't take it anymore. What's my life worth, Dallas? So the good news is the privacy commissioner is ruling, and so more truth is going to come out, and this is going to help everyone. The truth is so important. Now, I guess I want to talk about finding courage and what I believe our roles are right now. I was born in 1962. My parents worked hard. My family goes right back to the beginning of the city. I'm a fifth generation Vancouverite, and I love this province, and I love Vancouver, and I care about Canada. I really do. And I realized that when we were growing up, life was good because that generation, the greatest generation, really delivered us a wonderful place. They built community centers. They did stuff like they planted beautiful trees. They thought about how to lay out the city. They built churches. Think of the things our parents did. Remember, they coached. They did raffle tickets. They had hot dog days and all the things the dads and the moms used to do for us. And I think that a lot of us who were born around when I did thought it would just always continue that way. and we just got busy with our lives and went to school and got busy working. And now that we're all in our like early 60s and looking around going, what happened? Like all of our institutions have been infested with this, and it's Marxism, it's cultural Marxism. Look it up and read about it. And it is, I think, what they did is the left used to believe that you would need to tear down the institutions, tear them down. They got smart. They said, no, don't tear them down. Invade them, and then flip it on the people like us who believe in deference to authority figures, to observe rules, Robert's Rules of Order. We know how meetings are supposed to run, just like you're all sitting here tonight nicely. This is how we were raised. We knew proper protocol, and they got into these positions of power, and now they're using it against you, your tendency to be deferential, polite, abide by the rules, right? It's really hard to be a rebel in a room of people, and particularly when the person sitting up on the dais is shutting off your mic and telling you you're horrible and harmful. And so parents who have gone in to speak at school board meetings find themselves being called things that they can't believe, and they're simply asking, please stop showing pornography to my children. And so it's a trick that's being played on you, and it's been very effective. And while we were all busy working, they got into our school boards, they became the librarians, they got into this the BCTF. It's everywhere, and it's throughout government as well. It's really bad, and the key now is for all of us to get back involved, and I think that we're waking up. And so what I wanted to say is that maybe World War II, World War I, World War II, those were kinetic, horrible wars where there's so much loss of life. We're suffering a loss of soul and propriety and decency now. And this is a war of spiritualities, principalities. This is light versus dark. And so it's a different kind of war, but it's our war to fight because the kids can't do it. Okay? They're just little kids. They're trying to struggle through the elementary schools, the secondary schools, the universities, and they're mired in this stuff. They try and speak out in class, they get slammed. They'll get their grade reduced, they'll be embarrassed in their classrooms. So we as the grown-ups now, we need to fight the way the people fought in World War II for us. And think how brave they were. They got shot at. We're not being shot at, but the fear is you'll be called a name. And it is scary. I'm not going to deny it. It's hard. But try and remember, at least you're not having your arms shot off or lying in a trench with rats crawling on you, and the things that they did for us to give us this beautiful country. So that's something that I've realized, that we turned our backs and we let them creep in. So... And so it's our responsibility to fight. And I also want to say that we have to find courage of character, and we can do that. And we just need to encourage one another. And there's a. So what can you do? Each of us, sometimes we're nervous. Maybe we have a job, we can't speak out because we're afraid we'll lose our jobs. And I have a lot of people tell me that, Dallas, I want to support you. Like, I've asked people if they want to come on the board of 1BC. They're like, I love you, I've got your back and everything, but I can't. The reconciliation industry is, and I would say the transgender, the gender wang industry, as I call it, is really controlling a lot of people's jobs and what's going on in their workplaces. And people are unable to speak out. So they can't come on my board because they're involved, and they'll lose different, it's dangerous. They can find themselves cut off. Some people just don't want to be thrown out of their book club, and that's real. They don't want to be lose their friends, and you do lose friends when you do this. But they weren't friends, really, were they? So what can you do? Each of us has agency. Each one of you has agency. You're not just like a limp, a feeble thing sitting there on a chair. You have agency. You can take action in so many ways. So if you can go to work tomorrow, take that pronoun off your signature, take the land acknowledgement off. It's not law. They can't force you. That's one thing you can do. You can watch my documentary, send it to one person each day or once a week. That's one thing you can do. It's not hard. No one will know you did it. You share it out. You say, watch this. Or you just read the news and share articles with friends about what's going on. And that's something you can do very privately, and talk to your friends. Risk being unpopular at that group and say, hey, you know, you guys, and if someone gets mad, say, hey, I'm sick of people getting mad at me. I was told a story recently of someone who's on a board, and the board is an important board with powerful people. And they were on a Zoom for their board meeting, and the land acknowledgement started. And this man, who's a big guy, powerful, strong, he was out at UBC with me that day. He would have put himself in front of a bullet for me. But this, he said, had his heart pounding like nothing else has ever done to him in his life. And it's scary. So he said, oh, Dallas says we're supposed to do this. So he put up his hand and he said, stop. I don't like this. I bought my house. I own it. I don't think it's stolen. And I don't think we should do this anymore. And yeah. So this is the best story. So then he says, there was this agonizing 5-10 seconds of total silence. And he was like, ka-chunk, ka-chunk, ka-chunk. And he said it was so long. And then someone goes, I agree. Then there was another agonizing 5-10 seconds, and then he said the dominoes fell. Boom, boom, boom. I agree, I agree, I agree. It was so exciting to hear this story. It makes me so happy. And he said, so then they all agreed we're not doing them anymore, and everybody was so relieved and happy, and it was done. So... So that's in the last 3 weeks or so that happened. And that's really big. And that was brave. And when he talked about how he felt, I said, yeah, I know the feeling of the pounding heart. Because when I stand up to speak in that ledge, there's nothing like it. I've said on many times, the sound of my heart pumping is so loud sometimes I feel like everybody must be able to hear it, because I never even felt this way when I was in court. But you get in there and the energy is so toxic, and and whenever I stand up, the whole place goes totally quiet. So not in a good way. Not in a good way. So I stand up and I say my point, and it's really, but I do it. And as soon as I stand up, I notice that my fear just drains out of me. And and it's amazing. Once you're in action, the fear goes away. It's the sitting, cogitating, pondering, worrying, upset, complaining, and the contemplating, the doing. Once you do it, it's incredible how much you feel stronger because you're in action. So as soon as I stand up, I say, I'm at work now. I'm a lawyer, and my client is the province of British Columbia, and I'm going to speak. So there's an amazing undercover journalist in the States whose motto is, be brave, do something. I love that one. That's a good one. And stop thinking someone else will do these things, okay? It's up to each of us. So whichever way you find you can do it, just do it. And don't wait for someone else to do it, because you're all more powerful than I can be by myself. The land acknowledgements and pronouns, that is a way of grooming you. And the land acknowledgements are grooming, make no mistake about it. When the first time I heard one, I was like, this is not good. I remember being alert to it right away. I'm like, what the heck are we doing here? Do you know that they're now doing the land acknowledgements ahead of the national anthem at hockey games, I've heard? I mean, and it's incredible. So I don't go to the hockey games, but apparently that's what they're doing. And every day telling children they're on stolen land and that they should be ashamed of their history. It's so damaging to the kids' morale. We are an amazing... Why do you think people want to immigrate here? because we're a horrible country. We're a great country, but it's a way of lowering your, dispiriting you. It's a way of bringing you down and making you feel just like, what's the use? It's futile. Okay, who cares anymore if they tax me more? It's really intended to take the joy out of you and to disempower you. And these land acknowledgements have got to stop. If I were premier, I would immediately say no more land acknowledgements at any publicly funded institution. Do I have a couple more minutes, or should I wrap up now? I'm pretty much done. Okay. I just want to say, Tanya Gaw, I have to say just a quick word. This is one of the most inspiring people I've ever seen or watched. I found her during the mandates, and she is so strong. And she gives me courage, and I hope that I've given you courage. Courage is contagious, okay? Okay. Thank you very much, everybody.
In times of financial uncertainty, safeguarding your assets is increasingly important. In response to ongoing inflation, economic challenges, and market instability, many Canadians are adopting the timeless strategy of investing in precious metals. Historically, gold and silver have held their value, safeguarding your assets against economic turmoil. Action for Canada is pleased to announce our partnership with Steve of Sun City Silver, providing valued members of A4C with expanded investment opportunities designed to help you achieve your financial goals. Steve is an ally of the Freedom Movement, and he's offering members of Action for Canada exclusive access to some of Canada's premier prices. By leveraging his connections with Silver Gold Bull, you can access competitive rates for securing your precious metals. Silver Gold Bull is a trusted Canadian leader, offering live pricing 24/7 and boasting nearly 400,000 five-star reviews on Trustpilot. For an order of $5,000, be sure to indicate you're an Action for Canada member and receive a complimentary 1967 silver dollar, courtesy of Sun City Silver. Expand your collection further by referring a new customer who places a similar order, and Steve will reward you with a special bonus thank you gift. Your purchase with Steve is a dual investment. You invest in your future while simultaneously supporting the Freedom Movement with a percentage of each sale benefiting Action for Canada. For more information, be sure to visit actionforcanada.com/purchasing-precious-metals/. Secure your assets. Protect your future. Support Action for Canada and the Freedom Movement. The information presented is for educational and informational purposes only and is not intended to provide financial, legal, or tax advice, as we are not licensed financial advisors, accountants, or attorneys and cannot provide professional counsel. Be advised that the content and information provided does not create a client relationship. We recommend you consult with a qualified professional advisor before making any financial, legal, or tax decisions. Please note that Action for Canada is not responsible for an individual's financial outcome. Remember, your decisions are your own, and we recommend doing your own research before making any investment.
Chapters across the nation. We are going to be in every town and every city, and we are going to build communities within these communities of like-minded people who are actually going to care for one another again and love on each other and give each other the help when they're down. We are going to use the teams and the people that build within chapters to support our businesses. The government's actions are completely 100% unlawful. Judgment will again be found on justice, and those with virtuous hearts will pursue it. You have a virtuous heart if you are here today pursuing freedom and righteousness. And then verse 23 comes along with a promise. God says He will turn the sins of evil people back on them. He will destroy them for their sins. I take great comfort in that because I serve a mighty living God who has allowed us to go through this season of discomfort because we as a nation had turned our backs on Him and we need to get right. So I am just going to thank you so much. I'm going to say God bless you and God bless Canada.